Hi, guys, and welcome to my contribution to the conversation of honoring self. So, what do we actually mean by honoring self? Because it can mean lots of different things to lots of different people. It can mean different things in different times of our lives, and it can mean different things in different areas of our lives too. And what I want to unpack with you is what it can look like, what it should feel like, and really looking at the complexity of what it means, because it sounds very simplistic, but if we're actually living up to this standard every day in our everyday lives, it can prove challenging and quite confronting at times. So for me, honoring self, and of course I'm putting a parent lens on it because that's my business, is working with parents and families to empower them to the highest level. Honoring self is a fundamental piece of parenting that is going to absolutely be a gift to your children. But it's not always easy. And even me, who I consider to be fairly enlightened and living the path and doing the work, sometimes even I fall into the void where you're saying, oh no, I've done it again. I've done it again. I've overworked myself. I haven't been consciously aware of how many hours I'm putting in. I've tried to facilitate everything to everybody. I've tried to be everything to everybody. And yet again, I'm on my knees and I'm ill and I'm tired and I'm all of the things. And that's coming from somebody that I consider myself to be a pretty conscious person. I take the time to meditate. I take the time to rest. But I'm also one of these people that loves what they do. I multitask to the extreme very efficiently. And because I love what I do, I sometimes miss signs that I'm actually doing too much. And so it's that balance between honoring yourself in the pursuit of your own ambitions, realizing your own dreams, being the sort of parent that you want to be, the sort of partner that you want to be, the sort of friend and coach that you want to be professionally, and coupling that with what does it really take to be able to show up in this energy, vibration, power to this standard every day. And so for me, honoring self is a multitude of different threads in one gorgeous tapestry. So honoring myself as a daughter has been an interesting process for me, particularly as I've gone into adulthood, because what does that actually look like? Does it mean honoring our parents beyond all else? Or does it mean having that whispering within self that we know that we've been sent, just like our children have been sent to us to teach us, we have been sent to teach our parents. And so it's that shift of recognizing who you are at your core, what you stand for, what you think is acceptable, what you think is not acceptable. And in some ways, we've been sent here to teach our parents. So in honoring self, sometimes that can be a bit uncomfortable because we want to break generational cycles that no longer serve our children, and we want to break that cycle so it stops with us, so our children don't have to unpack that and deal with it through their own therapy. And that can be slightly awkward if we also love and adore our parents, but can recognize them as being human and doing the best they can in the circumstances that they had. And so honoring self then becomes something that involves other people and has to be approached quite carefully in deconstructing what was to build what can be, whilst considering everybody's thoughts and feelings within that situation. And so when we talk about honoring ourselves, it sounds very simplistic, but it can be quite challenging at times because we don't want to generally go around upsetting everybody in our experience. But sometimes, in order to truly honor ourselves and our paths, we have to disagree with or leave behind or dissolve some of the structures that were handed to us from previous generations. So that's something to consider. And as we step into honoring ourselves more and more, we may come across some resistance because some people see what we're doing and it makes them uncomfortable, because if we change, they're comfortable with the way that we are. So as we start to change, we start to change their reality and their experience, and they start to be a little bit uncomfortable with that. So they may try and stop us. They may try and sabotage us. And that may be unconscious. It may be something they're not even aware that they're doing. But because they're attached to their comfort zone, they don't want you to change in any way, because that will affect their experience. So that those sort of people can show up. Other sort of people that can show up when we're trying to honor ourselves to the next level are people who aren't going to do that for themselves. And so they don't want you to shine a light on the process of you achieving that in your own life, because it makes them feel difficult and lacking in their own lives. And so those people can come and again can sort of sabotage us or dissuade us or rain on our parade, as it were, because they know they're not going to do it. And so they don't want us to do it, because it shines a light on the fact that they're not going to do that, because they haven't got the courage, or they haven't got the strength, or they haven't got the time, or they just don't want to, quite frankly. So that's something else to be aware of. Self-sabotage can come up when honoring self. So we've grown up with lots of different social constructs, social rules, etiquette that may not have been placed there for our own benefit. And so it's really about dissolving again what doesn't work for us, and going in and doing that inner work and figuring out what is the way forward for us. And so we've got to be aware of us clinging to our comfort zones when we're trying to honor ourselves. And it doesn't have to be blame, shame, judgment. There's guilt. That is an old paradigm of the past that has no place here. We just observe it, and we just move through it, and we just let it go, because it's part of the process. And we understand that honoring self and elevating is at times going to feel a bit uncomfortable. But I've managed to get to a point in my life when I feel uncomfortable, which I do, because I'm always stepping into other arenas. I'm always elevating. I'm always doing the work on myself. And every time, doesn't matter how big your comfort zone is, every time you step out of your comfort zone, you're going to feel some sort of resistance, some sort of uncomfortable feeling. Sometimes it might actually manifest as fear. And so that's a time to really get excited, because honoring yourself to the next level means getting out of your comfort zone. And when we're getting these uncomfortable feelings, it's time to get excited, because we're growing to the next level, we're elevating, which is really cool. And of course, there are some people in our lives that when we start to honor ourselves, and that might look like nourishment, it might look like exercise, it might look like more rest, it might look like carving time out of our schedules for nothingness, that we get to be spontaneous and go for a walk or read a book or go for a massage or whatever we want to do in that time. When we start doing that, and especially when we're honoring ourselves in a self-development type way, and we're maybe educating ourselves, we're taking courses, we're reading things, we're attending seminars, we're wanting to better ourselves, sometimes we get sabotage from people who really, really love us, and they don't want to see us disappointed. And even though it's coming from a genuine place of love and care, still not helpful. So just being aware of it can just help us think, okay, that's cool. They love us. They don't want us to feel disappointed or hurt or to fail. I mean, I don't believe in failure. I believe in experiences, but the old paradigm of wanting to protect us can come through, but it's also not helpful when we're trying to honor ourselves and elevate in some way. So these are things that we can just be observational about and curious about. And, being able to go inward and reflect inside and figure out, what do I think? What do I feel? What's no longer working for me? What do I want to incorporate in my life? Where's an area that I've neglected that I really need to attend to? And again, no guilt, shame, blame. That just doesn't serve anybody. Just that gorgeous moment for self where we're going, hey, let me look at myself holistically. Is there an area where I am not honoring myself? Am I not saying no? Am I not saying yes? All of these things that we can look at. And once you get really, really attached and aligned to your inner voice, it doesn't matter what anybody else throws at you if you are solid in what you believe and you are clear on your direction and your vision for yourself is crystallized. Now, I'm the sort of person that I take on huge, huge missions with no way of knowing how to do it. And I actually don't share that information very early on when that thought is being nurtured and it's getting roots and it's starting to grow inside me. I actually don't share that information because I know at that early stage of incubation, if anybody came in with a harsh word or you can't do that or whatever, it might rock my foundations. So I keep very quiet with my new projects and missions and my all of the things, because I know that once it's steely within me and I'm super clear on why I'm doing it, what's the purpose, what's the vision, what's the mission, what's my motivation, and what's my end goal, then I'm so steely in that it doesn't matter if people say I can't do it, because I'm like, yep, that's cool. Don't project your limitations onto me. So be aware that when you're trying to honor yourself to the next level, it might just be worth nurturing that inwardly and quietly for a while until you feel really confident about it. Because once you feel confident about it, it doesn't matter what anybody says. I remember when we were emigrating, we emigrated with 3 young children. We didn't have a house, we didn't have a car, we didn't have a job, we didn't have any of those things set up. And it was scary. It was really scary. And I remember some friends, in inverted commas, were saying, oh, you'll never make it. Oh, that's a terrible thing to do to the kids. Oh my goodness, what are you going to do? Oh my gosh, you haven't got any of these things mapped out. What's going to happen? As if I didn't already know that. But luckily, I believed the whispers in myself. I was able to tune into and hear my whispers clearly enough to know that it was going to be okay. Not that it was going to be easy, but it was going to be okay and it was going to work out. And I really feel that before we start listening to the voices of others about anything in our lives, we really need to hear our own voice clearly first. So, so important. So honoring self for me as well is boundaries. Boundaries on what you allow into your experience and what you do not allow into your experience, and being super solid and steady in how you're showing up in your experience. So I had an incident at the end of last year where somebody was coming into my experience several times a week, trying to provoke me, even digging into the death of my father, all sorts of things to really try and get a reaction out of me. And all through that, I was steady, I was calm, and I just thought, I'm not participating in this. I just refuse to participate in this. And the honoring of myself in that situation was to completely reject that experience and not allow it in my orbit. So boundaries are really important. And, for me, I'm a parenting coach. And so I will always bring it back to the fact that whatever we do in our lives, our children are watching us. If you haven't got children of your own, the next generation of humans in your experience are watching. They're watching to see, how do we handle conflict? How do we honor ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, professionally, personally, all of these things. And so when we are wanting to honor ourselves to the next level, if we need permission to do that, the permission is that our kids are watching us. And every time we strive to honor ourselves to the highest level in every area of our lives, we actually unconsciously give our young ones the courage and the permission to do the same. So I'd be really interested for you to share with me below what you feel honoring self looks like and why you think honoring yourself is so important for your next generation. I'd love to hear from you. Please do reach out. I always love having these deep philosophical conversations. I hope you've enjoyed some of the content here today. If you want to clarify any points or dig into any points more deeply, please do reach out. I'm always open to have these conversations. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me, and lots of love. And I honor you in honoring yourself. Bye.